welcome to this week's sermon preview. I'm here with Pastor Nick. We're in our Common 12 series where we're looking at the 12 disciples. This week we're looking at Judas. Nick, tell us a little bit more where we're going.
I can't take you seriously like that. So today we're talking about Judas, which is a bit more depressing than any of the other disciples, right? All the other disciples were encouraging, and we saw their faithfulness, and I mean, we saw their mistakes, but they always repented of those, and they
turned it around,
and then they were used in an incredible way. Judas is different, right? Judas is different in that he doesn't. And the mistake that he makes is
catastrophic,
complete treachery, right? It's catastrophic, right? So the passage that we're looking at today and this week for Judas is actually two parts. It's both in Matthew chapter 26, but the first part of it is verses 14 through 16, and the last is verses 47 through 50. Now, it's not that we didn't like what was in the middle there, but those just kind of highlight the main chunk of what happened with Judas there. In the first part of it is where he receives 30 pieces of silver in this agreement that he makes to betray Jesus, right? This is where he takes the money, where the deal is started. And then the last part of it is where he actually leads the authorities to Jesus to take him, and he betrays him with a kiss. So there's so much about Judas's life that just is an example for us in what not to do, right? And perhaps the biggest thing within that is the example of like the missed opportunity that Judas had, right? So like Judas walked with Jesus, closely with Jesus, for 2 or 3 years, yet his heart was never changed. Right. And so like, I think that what that shows us is that people can appear to walk with Jesus on the surface level, appear sincere, yet there's no real life change. There's no real transformation that happens. There's no new life in him within that. And so I think for us, it probably lends itself more to this idea of like, we need to be examining ourselves, right? Like,
absolutely.
So like, Lance, what does that look like as we look at Judas's life and we see the lost opportunity or the missed opportunity that he had? And for us, like, how do we examine ourselves in that?
I think looking at Judas, I mean, he puts on all the right faces. He says all the right things. He really convinced 11 other guys that he was flawless. And I think, at least for myself, I go, I need someone to check myself. I need to have really strong accountability and be intentional about what I'm doing. Am I grounded in devotions? Am I having a solid prayer life? Do I surround myself with people who say, hey, you're not actually living right, or hey, you're just kind of going through the motions right now? So kind of this refining process that has to keep happening throughout every day, but throughout your whole life.
I think the other thing is like, you have to ask yourself, like, is there any secrecy in your life? Because that's what we see with Judas. Like, he's secretly, so he was in charge of the money bag, and so he's secretly skimming off the top of that. And so this like unchecked, unconfessed sin led him, like, it was a piece that led him to this. And so like in our own lives, is there any sin in our life that is unchecked, that's unconfessed, that festers and allows the enemy a foothold into our lives, right? So I think that's another aspect to it. Like, do we have people in our life, like you said, that can provide accountability that we're willing to open up and confess to? It doesn't have to be the whole world, but is there one person, that one or two people that can do that for us? So
I wonder if Judas would have actually said, like, hey, guys, I skimmed, or he would have talked to one of the disciples, if something wouldn't have been different. I think back in my own life, when there was things going on that I didn't say, like I kept covering it up, but like once you do say, hey, you know what, I'm not perfect, I've sinned, there's a whole lot of freedom and grace that Jesus gives us. And so I wonder if Judas would have opened up if it had been a whole different story.
Well, oftentimes confession is the first step in repentance, right? But we don't see that with Judas. We don't see anywhere that Judas repents of anything that he has done, right? And that just kind of led him deeper and deeper down this path of treachery and betrayal of Jesus. So kind of a dreary Drury time, drury topic for a drury day, right? It's kind of somber.
Yeah. It's kind of like our weather right now.
Kind of like the weather. It's exactly right. But I think as we prepare for this, I think that maybe the preparation is a little bit different for this Sunday.
Yeah.
Obviously, be looking at the passage, be looking at the life of Judas. But then I'll just examine yourself, examine your life. Where are areas that maybe you haven't fully surrendered to Jesus? Where are areas that you need to open up to somebody about? What are areas that you need to say, this is not taking me down a good path, where this could lead me down the path of turning my back on Jesus, that type of thing. So just examine yourself and where you're at as you think about Judas's life. But then also as we're going into the week before Easter, right? This is what we consider Holy Week, the week before Easter. I think this is a good thing for us to examine, where are we at, recognizing that like in our sin, like in a certain sense, like we betray Jesus every time we sin, right?
Absolutely.
And so putting ourselves into that sense, or into those shoes as we move into Holy Week. Okay, sounds great. We'll see you then.
See ya.